Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev.
Good day to you.
Good day to you.
How are things?
Well, I want to start off right away. Besides the fact my nose decided to start itching or running. That's weird. Okay. Moment of pause while I wipe my nose and Bev itches her nose. What's the deal with the nose?
Something that's right in front of our face, right?
Yeah, right. Anyway, I want to start right off. We know when this recording comes out, it's going to be released on Thanksgiving. So I want to express my deep gratitude for you, Beverly, for doing this podcast with me for the past 2.5 years. It's been 2.5.
I have no idea, but when you say that, it's like, oh, wow, that's a long time.
Because we started in 2020. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
How long we've been doing this. So anyway, my deep gratitude for sharing this space with me each week and having the opportunity to be with you and watching you grow and expand and allowing me to be a part of that journey. Such a blessing, and your insights that you bring forward, love it. And I just want you to know I love you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I love you too. That's awesome.
But
on the other side of that, it's like I wouldn't even be here if you hadn't said something, if you hadn't, and it's not you that you said it one time. You've encouraged me on numerous occasions and stood by patiently waiting for me to finally succumb. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't like that. But to come into this. And so I thank you. I thank you for all the encouragement and the support and just kind of guiding me along this way with patience, really, and nurturing that at the same time. And then honoring me. You honor me all the time with whatever I bring forward, and you listen to it and you process it. And you've brought a lot of insight forward for me, which is amazing. Even your most recent book, I read your chapter, there's like a couple of lines. It's like, very well put.
Thank you.
And that's all I'm going to tell people, because it's up to them to go read that so they can take in whatever they need to take in from the conversation. It's stuff that we've talked about a lot, but it's just simplified. It's just right there. No big long story to get you to that point or anything. It's just, this is it.
Yeah.
In a short chapter, really. But thank you. I just wanted to thank you, because I wouldn't have grown and become the person I am right now. I mean, I was on that process, but I was so limiting myself along the way. So, and then you weren't. And then you find and it's crazy when I say that, because then you find yourself where you limit yourself, which it's not, where it's not up to another to find where we're limiting ourselves. It's up to ourselves.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have seen it like that. I would never have seen it like that. But no, I greatly appreciate you. Greatly appreciate you. I don't tell you that very often.
Thank you. And you know what? Just being here every week, I know it. So.
Oh, yes. Awesome. That's true, right? Because it is those actions. It reminds me, we're always telling the babies, oh, say please and say thank you. It's, whatever. And I don't do that. Occasionally I'll say, oh, your mom did something really nice. Did you tell her thank you? I catch myself in that place. But I notice when I do something for my grandkids and they appreciate it, they don't come up and say thank you because they feel obligated to, right? So that helps us, that stops us or that creates a disassociation between our emotions and then the words that we're saying. And those words are lacking emotion a lot of times when you tell someone thank you out of habit. When they appreciate what I'm doing for them, if I'm just sitting playing with them, they just turn around out of the blue, give me a big old huge hug, and they tell me, I love you, Grandma.
Not the best.
So to me, that is the best, and it feels the best, and it's not programmed. It's not some, you know what I mean? It was never, here's the treat. Make sure you go say thank you. Here, you're not worthy unless you say thank you, unless you appreciate it. And that's not something. I guess we're coming to a phase in our lives that it's not something that you can force on another to feel those ways, but allow them in their raw state, in their natural state, to show their appreciation however they show their appreciation. It's not something, my husband, so Jim grew up with that behavior. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It was please and thank you. So it was very important for him, for the girls to say please and thank you. It was. And they've always done it. And it's never been an issue. And they carry that on even now. And I hear it, but it's not authentic. It's not authentic. We're just training them how to be human instead of allowing them to be their soul.
Yeah. So it's about the manners.
Yes.
And I like that you explain to your grandchildren that someone did something nice for them.
Yeah.
Because they may not recognize that. Like it as an adult, we can recognize that. Like, you did something very nice for me or to me, and for me to express my appreciation, that's because I'm an adult and I can recognize that. Whereas a child, I feel maybe just bringing it to their awareness, not out of guilt or anything like that, but just, wow, your mom really did something nice for you today, and lighthearted, and just bringing it to their awareness. And then they learn by example that, maybe their mom, which is your daughter, does something nice for you, and you acknowledge that in front of them, and not directed at them, but, wow, thank you for doing something nice for me. I really appreciate it. And expressing that gratitude as an example, as a teacher, not directed at them. Like, look what your mom did for me, and I'm saying thank you to her. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. It absolutely does. Which, of course, this conversation goes along with Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And I don't mean the Thanksgiving, why Thanksgiving came around, but thanks. There's a thanks for the giving. Because it's a giving and a receiving. So you're bringing something and it's such a flow of a relationship with everybody that's around you. And it's however you want to show up. It doesn't have to be just one day a year. It can be all moments. It can be all the time. And that's what we're demonstrating. So it's most important for us to lead by example. I can sit and, like we've talked about, and we're living our experience. We're living our example. We're showing it, and you get to see it change, because as we all change, then we get new stuff that comes into our toy box, new tools that come into our toolbox. Then we start seeing things a little bit differently. It changes our whole perspective. I've been learning breathing, different ways of breathing. And it's been awesome. And then now all of a sudden I'm being guided on my own path for my breathing. And now when I'm breathing, I'm actually breathing into, when I see myself breathing, I might be breathing into the heart, and then I might exhale from the heart, and then I breathe in from the heart, and then I exhale up and out, because I'm into my soul. So that when I take that breath in, I'm now breathing in my soul. I'm bringing my soul into this experience. And I'm listening to this YouTube this morning, and it's awesome. It's about a person in near-death experience, but the words that are coming from him because of his experience are amazing. They're amazing. And how, no matter how much we try to be perfect while we're here in this experience, we were created in this experience with imperfections. There's imperfections there. Everything, like as he was saying, everything eats something else. Everything, stars get devoured, not devoured, he didn't say that, but stars get, busted up by something else, and then it creates something else, because that's the same thing as we are. Something happens in our experience and it changes everything. And it's imperfect. It's imperfect in this place. And for us to have such a feeling that perfection is the goal for everything how can it possibly be in an imperfect world? It's perfectly imperfect. So it's like trying to control something. So it's just being in this space, but it's like, I'm hearing this conversation, but I'm not just hearing it, I'm feeling it. And the more so that goes back to the breath work. The more that I'm doing the breath work, the more that I'm doing the meditation, I was going to say massage. The more that I'm doing the meditation, because massage is a lot of time, it depends on the circumstances can be very meditative for myself. But it's like the more that I'm doing all that stuff gets me more in connection with that soul, with my soul. So I'm living through this instead of thinking that I'm so separate from something else. So I'm bringing it more into my line of sight, so to speak, because really it's not a matter of sight. Those are just world things, which can, you know, a lot of these conversations can get confusing to someone that's listening to it and they haven't had these experiences or aren't aware of kind of what I'm talking about in a lot of ways. For instance, for me, someone was telling me, Freeman was telling me a few years ago about parallel lives and all this other stuff. And I was like, what is this shit? Like, I was like grasping what I could grasp at the time. And this is what it was. And now it's like, I'm so beyond that. Now it's like, we're so not just parallel lives. There's like, everything is this moment right now. All of it's happening right now. And then to wrap someone's mind around it. Well, if you're logically trying to wrap your mind around it, it's never going to work. It will never work because it's not logic.
Well, when you're trying to wrap your mind around it, are you kind of focusing on it as not a problem, but yeah, like a problem to solve?
Maybe not. It's almost as if we were talking last week after the video, which we don't normally do. I mean, we normally do, but sometimes the conversations go into a lot more, and we went into depth about things and how what happens, I think, when you're trying to wrap your mind around it, you're trying to wrap your mind around it with every single thing you've already experienced,
right,
in this physical reality
and logic.
And none of that stuff can make sense to what you're now grasping, or what you're now having an understanding that, for instance, we're all connected. I am me, but I am you. I am God. God is me. I'm another aspect of.
So wrapping your mind around is like keeping your perception in a box, because
From your previous experiences.
yeah, this is my container that I know life is by what I've experienced, which is in my box.
Yes.
And that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around from what I already know, not
Yes.
the possibilities of the unknown.
Absolutely.
Talk that out.
But that's absolutely it. And our conversation last week was, if any of us are moving forward on this new path, right? We're all in we're all in a lot of new stuff right now. We're in a lot of spiritual stuff right now. We're in a lot of awakenings. It kind of throws out some of the stuff like, well, what do I believe? Do I believe this stuff is happening in the world right now? Do I believe this? It creates a lot of questioning, which questioning helps you, when you feel like you have all these questions that need to be answered, it helps you to ask these questions so that you can move forward on your path and so that you can create new. But if we go back to the box, if we're trying to operate from this box and moving forward, and you don't have any tools in this box, and you keep throwing the shit around, it's like, I don't have nothing to move forward in this. So a lot of times we won't move forward because it's just like being in a bad relationship. It's easier to stay in that relationship because it's comfortable, even though it may be abusive, but you know what to expect from that. And it's not something that you're not prepared for. And when you're in that box, that's everything that you've been prepared for so far in this life. That's your fight or flight and everything. Everything is encompassed in that box, how you respond to everything that you're responding to right now. So if I'm moving forward in this life experience and I have not, that I can recall, experiences of mediumship, of channeling, then this is all new stuff. And I can't move forward carrying this box with me anymore because nothing inside that box has the tools that is leading me to over here. Nothing in this box is over there. And so now we're having to learn a whole new way of moving forward. And that sounds and seems scary in a lot of ways, because it's like, I don't know. I know the stove is hot, but I don't know, what is this fluffy thing over here? I just don't even know. What if it hurts me reacting from the box, right? So it's like, it's this whole new journey that we're on, which is freaking amazing if you start looking at it like, oh, what if the stove really isn't hot over here? What if it's I've been made to believe. You know, it's just makes you ask more questions because so you can grow outside of this space. So the only way to evolve forward is to kind of surrender and let all that stuff go. Just let it fall to the wayside. Just saying that out loud makes me feel emotional. I feel like I could cry about that. And it's not like a sad cry. It's like, thank God. Like, why are you trying to carry all this stuff forward when it doesn't belong in forward? It doesn't. Now there's little pieces of tools and stuff we could have caught along the way. I'm playing a game the other day, and it's I'm doing like a search scene, and it says medical glove or something like that. But immediately in my mind's eye, I see someone sticking their hand into the glove and then pop it on, you know, like they would do in the movies and stuff like that. But I'm seeing that, and this is all this stuff is happening so fast. I'm like, this is great, Spirit. Great. You're playing with me right now because you're showing me something from my experiences. So the only way that I could pull from that box now is this example of putting on a glove. And then how you use that moving forward when you're doing any mediumship, or I would say probably mediumship. I don't think that would have anything to do with the channeling part unless it was something that they were working through. But it's like it just happens. And that's where we might use some of that information, but it's not something that we're just not operating from that space anymore. And it's to remember that we're operating from a whole new space, and almost, you know, reminding yourself to be grounded. I know I'm going on, but it's like one thing leads to the next. I'm sitting on the couch last night. I'm not even realizing this. One of the dogs laid on my foot, and all of a sudden I felt like, oh, I could take a deep breath. And all of a sudden I could feel him touching my feet, and I'm like, oh, I feel grounded. So then I was like, I'm grounded, like really focused on, and for me, all I have to do is say is I'm grounded. I'm grounded. It's that simple. I hit the button on the keyboard that says I'm grounded. So I'm grounded now. And then all of a sudden everything feels different. Just like that. And I've never recognized it in my life at this point that it felt just like that. Just simply by the dog putting his head on my foot to bring me back down. I don't know where I was before that. I was playing a game, but I don't know where my thoughts were. I don't know if I was even thinking. But as soon as I felt that, it's like, then I'm playing and I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. And that was all that mattered.
And you can take, anybody listening can take the information that Bev's been sharing and implement it on these, during these holidays, when you're in those family gatherings, or the gatherings like you feel like you're obligated to be to join, is, you know, I'm just going to go back to the breath, the breathing, to take a few moments before you get out of your vehicle to go into your family member's home or this big gathering, and just take some few deep breaths and bring yourself down into your awareness of your heart space and practice. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you know we talk about transformation and change and why people do things the way they do, based on their history, based on their childhood, their programming. Make it a practice, if you can, that those people who you struggle with when you're around them is, okay, you feel obligated to be there in the environment to celebrate the holiday with the family members. You're there for your mom or your dad or your cousin or whoever that you enjoy being around, but there's still those other members of the family or friends that you're just like, if they stay in the backyard and I stay in the front yard, we'll be good, right? But if you see them through the eyes of compassion and remember that they're doing the things they're doing because of the way they were brought up, because of their belief systems, their habits, or programming, that if you could interact with them in a compassionate way and see how the conversations may be different, see how they may keep their distance because you're expressing compassion comes from a loving space, from a heart-centered space, from spirit. And when you're doing that, they'll feel that energy of love and not know how to interact with it. And they may keep their distance the whole day or the whole weekend or however long you're there. And so the breath work, for one, also be in that space of within yourself, of expressing the gratitude for their presence, because even with them there, and even within the discomfort of the experience of being around a certain person or people, that there's something for you to learn about yourself. So there's some gratitude there in the fact that they're bringing an awareness up within yourself to be able to look at it. And like Bev was talking about, let it go, right? We don't need to hang on to that baggage anymore, but those people are going to help those layers come up. So these are all practices though, and being mindful practices, that if somebody comes into your presence and pushes a button and you get triggered, can you take that deep breath and pause and take an internal inventory and ask yourself, why am I getting triggered by this? And you're going to find out, you'll notice more often than not, it's not the person who's triggering you that's in front of you. It's the person in front of you triggering you to look at a past childhood wound that still resides within. They're just the button pusher. But unfortunately, what we tend to do is we react to the situation and blow off the handle, right? And yell at them, or get angry with them, or say things that we don't, personally, I would say don't really actually mean. It's just that automatic reaction of spewing out some unkindness. So taking some of the, taking the information like Bev's talking about and implement it, utilize it, be grounded before you go into a group of people, especially people like you're feeling like you're obligated to be around them because of the holidays or a birthday or some celebration. Get into your heart space, be grounded, and you can do a simple technique like Bev's saying, just bam, I'm grounded. Some people, when you're first starting out, it may take a little bit more. Maybe put your hand over your heart and just connect to spirit through your heart space. Maybe you want to, connect to the core of the earth, connect to God, the heavens above, the divine. Any technique that works for you, but practice doing it before you go into a group of people. In the middle of the time together with these people, if you feel like you're getting unsettled, you have choices, right? You can always leave, but then later you might be like, oh man, I shouldn't laugh. That's okay. If you're feeling some unsettled energy going on, you feel like, oh, any second I'm going to explode, go to the bathroom, lock the door, sit there on the toilet. Doesn't mean you have to be doing any kind of business, but go back into connecting with your heart space, connecting with spirit, being grounded. And it might take several times during the day to do that practice, and it's okay, because you're learning, because it's new and it's fresh, and you're practicing your perception from humans' perspective of reaction to spirit connection, because we're all spirit and body, and seeing through the eyes of love and responding. To me is two different energies, reacting and responding, two completely different energies. So practice that as we go into these holidays and parties and celebrations. It'll help. It'll help.
Because just as we can be limited by the box that we have everything from all of our experiences, they only have whatever they have in their box and how they're able to move forward.
I would also say that we've put people in the box based on our history with them.
Of course, because that's part of our box.
Do what?
That's part of our box.
Right.
That's all our experience from before and now.
Yes. And a lot of times when you have these family gatherings, like I haven't seen people in months, sometimes years, and they remember you from back then, however long ago that would have been. So their expectation is of you to show up the same way you did back then. When I'm like not even the same person yesterday, right? I mean, every day it's a shift and a change and a growth, and so they in their mind have a perception of you that this is how you're going to show up. And when you don't show up that way, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Whatever's going on within their mind, that's their business. We also tend to do that with people, is we put people in our box. Now, I don't like to say, like, when Bev and I, we've been practicing this for so long and we're not above you. It's just, we've been practicing this for a lot longer, that when I go into a group setting or around people, then I see them differently because I have that understanding and awareness. I was doing stuff based on what I learned in childhood. It's no different than what they're doing. I've chose to grow and expand. They haven't. Or if they have, they're in a different space with themselves than where I'm at. I can be the example, right? I'm going to use the word better. I can be a better example within myself of how I show up around people. They're going to do what they know how to do. I don't have control over that. I don't have control over what they say, what they do, how they respond or react. I don't have control over any of that. I have control over me most of the time. Every once in a while, we still get triggered. And you know what? I have to go put myself in a timeout, sift through that shit, and then go back and show up again. So it's continuous. Like, I mean, you don't do all this in one sitting, in one moment, and heal everything. The buttons are not as proud. Like, I used to have this big, huge red button that said, push me so I can explode. And now that's, that button may not be there anymore. And all the other buttons may be there, but they're much, they're faded. The buttons, the labels, they're faded, right? But they're still there. And sometimes, every once in a while, something comes up and it's uncomfortable and I know it. Sometimes I remember to breathe and then respond. Sometimes I don't. And it's okay, because I'm still learning about myself. So just allow yourself to be in that space to learn about yourself when you're, especially because people are our greatest teachers and people help us learn and grow and expand quicker if we allow it. But it's a choice.
It is. And as we've talked about setting intentions, and intention really is everything. We don't have control over the people that are around us. But for me, an experience that I had before is, and we've kind of talked about, I think, a couple of times, it's just, setting up my intention, like, I'm going to go Thanksgiving and I'm going to have a blast.
Yep.
I am going to enjoy the day. It's going to be the most beautiful day. What does the most beautiful day look like? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. So I'm going to go into this space and it's going to be so beautiful and it's going to be just a great day. And then I would find out later on, oh, did you hear such and such was saying this? Oh, did you see these two are fighting? No, I didn't see any of that. And it wasn't because I had control over all that stuff, but I had control over how my day was going to, and I don't even like to use control so much as far as that goes, because it doesn't feel like I'm controlling it. I'm just thinking about the day and how does that look like and what does it feel like for me? How could it look like and how could it feel like? When we do that kind of stuff, if you can, for an instant, see everybody like around a bit, like right now I'm seeing everybody around laughing and I see my mom I see my mom like just putting her head back and just laughing. So you see that and it changes that energy. Now I'm also tying to that energy and placing that energy into the space of what I want to feel, what I would like to experience, or even better. So we have all these opportunities, and every opportunity when we come together is an opportunity. Yeah. It's an opportunity for your growth. And when you're in a space like that, if you feel like, well, he did this to me, and if you're telling yourself that story and she did this, then recognize that you're where you're putting yourself at, how you're not processing this stuff. You're actually accusing somebody else of something instead of recognizing that they're all here for your growth opportunity. It's all here for, how do you get rid of the splinter if you don't even know it's there? We got these whole bodies. And how do you know you have a splinter anywhere? We've gained splinters all over in life at some point or another from little things. And the splinters meaning, I mean, it could be physical splinters. It could be anything. I was in an accident with my biological father when I was younger. The vehicle had flipped and we had got glass all in our hair and everything. And for months, another piece of glass would all of a sudden show up because it would work its way out. And how would I have known that was there if something didn't bring it to the surface for me to actually address it, for me to actually remove it, for me to brush it, to let it go, whatever the situation was. It's like all of it is an example, or not example. Well, it is an example too, but it's an opportunity for us to grow, for us to keep moving forward and no longer carry that splinter, that piece of glass, that wound, that whatever you want to call it, your victim. We just no longer need to carry that stuff with us anymore. And we have this asking to evolve, and we can't evolve with all that stuff still in us. I can't move forward carrying my box behind me of all my experiences that I've had so far in this physical experience. I can't bring all of it forward. It's getting heavy anyways. I've been here for 52 years. But I can't bring it all forward and then learn all this new stuff. It's like you've got to surrender. You've got to purge it. You've got to just release it, let it go, whatever you want to look at it.
I love the analogy of the splinter, because what happens when a splinter stays embedded, gets infected.
Yep, it
festers. And eventually, and it's painful, right? Yep. So think about all the I'm going to say suck scenarios in your life that you just wondered, why is God doing this to me? I'm saying that because that's what I said, that those splinters are in there and they hurt. They're painful. But who's carrying the splinter? Whose body is that splinter in? It's not the person who you're mad at because they're off enjoying their life. That splinter is in you and it hurts. And then it festers. And when that happens, then it gets infected. And eventually, I mean, if you don't take care of it, I mean, if it's in your finger, maybe you lose your finger. But if it gets infected enough, that splinter, it will come out. It will come to the surface for you to pull it out, but there's still the wound. And it's up to you. You're going to care for the wound, or you're going to let it get worse and stay uncomfortable.
And then how it comes forward, you know what I mean? If you think about it from that analogy, we can let it come forward with grace and ease, or we can keep trying to cover it up and pretend like it's not happening and push it aside and brush it aside. But guess what? It gets louder and louder and louder. It gets more infested.
Every time you bump it, it hurts.
Yes, infected. So it's a constant reminder, right?
That's the trigger.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I love that. Never thought of it as a splinter.
Yeah. So let's deal with it. Like, deal with it when it comes up, and then, you know, you don't have to worry about it later on, and it comes out so much easier. And I don't know, it's out immediately.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I get a splinter, I'm on it. Like, I want that out now. Right? And it might take a little digging to get it out, but I'm going to get it out because it hurts. I don't like that. So let's think about that as those experiences from the past that you're still hanging on to. They hurt, and they hurt you. Like I said, the other people involved, they're off doing life. They're doing their thing. They could be on vacation on the other side of the world, having the best time of their life. And you're the one that is festering over whatever situation occurred, get it out because it hurts. So is that breath work? Is that journaling? Is that, a process of any number of spiritual teachers that are out there, or transformational teachers that you've used or been introduced to or are learning? Utilize the tools that you have. I do a process I call a blaming letter. I just write a letter saying, you did this to me. This is how it affected me. This is how I'm showing up in my life because of it. And it's like spewing out all the crap onto paper in a letter format, like I'm going to, like it's directed at the person who I'm blaming. Here's the key. I don't give them the letter. I don't mail it. Don't hand deliver it. None of that. I burn it. Okay. So if you choose burning, just be safe. But it's a way to get that emotion, that energy. Energy is emotion. Emotion is energy. Energy in motion. And so we want to move that emotion out of the body, put it on pen and paper, release it to the universe, help let call in the angels, let them help you transmute it back into love, cleanse your body of it from your mind, your body, and get rid of the festering. We don't need to stir on this anymore. It's not doing any good.
Nope. And everything can move forward with grace and ease, right? It could be a simple surrendering, simple releases, a runny nose, a cough, clearing of the throat, versus, having to go see a doctor to have something cleansed out of your body because you just couldn't do it on your own. You weren't capable, or you weren't able to at that time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that where we're at, that just shows you where you're at with your experiences. What are you holding on to? There used to be a water retention issue. I would have called it an issue for myself when it was really just the body's way of saying, hey, Bev, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to all this time? I haven't had it for months. And every once in a while it might pop up and I'll be like, oh, what am I holding on to right now? Because I'm not recognizing these things as something that I'm doing wrong. Because a lot of times I kept thinking, God, what am I doing wrong? I drank this much water. I ate this food. I watched myself, all this control things. And instead it was letting me know or guiding me to is, what was I holding on to? What was I not able to let go of? What was I, and a lot of it. And so you think about water, it's emotions. So there was a lot of stuff that I was holding on to, but it's just recognizing, and that's been in my experience. So everybody has to go through their own experience and figure out what the meaning is. We've got these amazing books, and you brought it up even last week too. All these amazing books that we have, but we really don't even have to go outside of ourselves to find the answers to those things. Right. But sometimes when we're on that journey, part of the journey that maybe we're not able to even hear, and we're asking and asking and asking, we're not getting the information, because a lot of times the information that we're getting is not the information that we wanted. And we don't know how does that mean anything? Because you're not in that space. Yeah. No, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So it's like all these other things, but it really is. Everything is right here within inside of us, all of it.
All right.
And it still showed we were live here, which I just noticed a few minutes ago. So.
Okay. Well, anywho, what were you saying, love?
I honestly don't recall. When I get into those moments of that flow, it is what it is. Yeah, but it's all right. That's okay. It's all divine. It's all divine. All of it is.
I know. And I had something to say too about all of it. And that's what happens, right? A lot of times when we're doing this, it's I would consider it this and teaching classes that a lot of it is channeled information. And when you have the information flowing, then if it gets interrupted, then it's like something pushed a button for off, and then to come back to it is it's like waiting for that connection, that divine connection to sync up, it just like Wi-Fi.
It is.
That connection to sync up again to continue with the message.
Or any message at this point. So it's like we would just have to just go with the flow, really, with whatever's supposed to come forward at this time. And sometimes maybe that was the extent of where it needed to be. Maybe that's exactly where it needed to finish right there. Not finish the recording, but to that part of the conversation. So it just guides us into a whole new flow of the conversation. And then recognizing where you're at with your vibrational frequency, not you or me, but even for me, like when you were saying, coming back on, it almost reminds me of the old modems to like dial up into waiting for connection, waiting for waiting for that connection to happen. And then, so that's an opportunity. So you go back into the breath work, And for me, that's what I was doing. So when you said that about losing our connection, because suddenly that flow's not there. Well, if I took a breath into my heart, and then I can feel this connection. I can feel, because it never goes away, but I can feel, for me, it almost feels like from maybe my jawline down would be my body. And then all of a sudden it's like from here, it's like, it's so huge. It's such an expansive area.
Nice.
Not that I have a big head, but it's just, I can just feel that space. I can feel the energy of it. So it's because we've got these awesome freaking skin suits that we have on that are great at picking up so much information. It's our antennas. So when you think about that, because it's picking up information that's being put out broadcasted all over the world. And that's, which is kind of funny. So I haven't listened to Esther Hicks and Abraham for probably a year or more. It's a very seldom thing that I listen to, because I listen to it over and over and over and over again, even though I'd still get new stuff all the time. But it's like some of the information that I hear now, it's like, wow, I'm having a different understanding about that. And that goes back to the frequency, right? So the tuning, and I've heard it a million times, but it's like each time when you hear it and you've gone through, you've evolved, when I hear these things, it's like, it's so true. So when she says, when you're on, radio station 97.3 and you're trying to hear something from 109.9 or something like that, you can't hear it from 97.3. So if I'm at this frequency, so if I'm angry and I'm at that frequency of anger, I can't hear joy because I'm not on that channel. I'm not even tuned into it. So it's like when they say stuff like that, it reminds me of my frequency. So when you talked about, getting that connection again, I felt into that space by taking a breath into my heart, breathing out through the top of my head, and then pulling all that, like seeing an image. Can't remember, there was somebody I had seen recently, and she showed a picture. She picks up this picture to the side, and it shows like the whole universe, like flowing into this being, like you see the being's body and stuff like that. It was just such a good visual to recognize. So when I take this breath, I'm taking this breath from the universe, from whatever you want to visualize in that space. And it's so huge, but I can feel that whole interaction. I can feel the vibrational frequency changes for myself. And then I start noticing I feel happier. I feel lighter.
Yeah.
I feel more joyful. And then listening to Suzanne Giesemann yesterday, she's talking about, she calls God joy. She doesn't refer to it as God. She refers to it as joy. And we've talked about that before, but that feels so good. And then so I was hanging out with Joy all day yesterday, which you can only get more positive, even releases and experiences and new, it's like a new template, right? So I'm laying down a new blueprint already. And then that's going to change again. And that's because it's supposed to change again. Because then this is where I get what I could digest. This is where I'm at. This makes sense to me now. And then I'll go on to the next place. And even for us, our people that follow us and listen to us, they're going to come along with, or they're going to gravitate onto somebody else or something else, because what they're digesting right now might be different. It might be more, it might be less. And more or less make it sound like it's higher or lower or bad or good. And it's not any of those things. It's just on to something else.
Yeah. And we'll take that when you're talking about the frequency of, when I'm angry, it's difficult to feel that joy. And it put me back in my early days when I was harboring a lot of anger towards a lot of people. And if somebody came into my presence who was enjoying their life, right, in a good mood, in good spirits, and being themselves, it would make me even more mad, because now I'm mad because they're happy and I'm not. Right? So
what the hell are they so happy for?
Yeah. What's so great about life that they're enjoying it? How come
how did that pass through how did that pass through our experience? Because I know what you're talking about. I've been there. Yeah. I've been like, I don't know who this motherfucker is walking through right now, but they got
yeah. They need to keep on walking because they got time for their shit, happy shit.
Those poor happy people.
I know. So it's the same thing again. I'm just going to go into, being in these groups of people, especially during the holidays or these gatherings where you feel obligated to be, is if somebody is feeling a lower vibrational emotion, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, any and all of that you bringing in your joy could have different effects. One, you're being an example. Hang on to that. Don't detour from it. Two, they can't stand it. They'll leave. They'll go somewhere else. They're not going to be in your presence. Third that I can think of is it's going to make them even more mad. And they're going to do everything they can to pull you down to their level of their low vibrational emotions. And that's where, being grounded, your breath work, and all of that's going to help you maintain that level of good feeling. That's your job. Your job is to maintain your level of emotion that feels good to you. And whatever their reaction to you is, that's on them. It's on them.
You know what it reminds me of? It goes back to the beginning of our conversation, or the middle part of our conversation, or our conversation, whatever you want to say. It's that goes back to that box, right? At that time, we were living from that box that we didn't know what to do with joy when joy walked through. Oh, they're acting weird. Wonder what the hell is that? There must be on something, whatever the conversation would have been, but it wouldn't have been very good because it's like, it didn't make sense. That wasn't something that was in my environment, because we're a match to our environment, right? So if I'm unhappy and grouchy and angry all the time, well, I'm going to have unhappy, grouchy, and angry experiences and people in my experience naturally, because that's what we attract, what we're putting out. That's a natural law in the universe. It's whatever you're putting out, you're going to get back always. Yeah. But it's like, from that space, I didn't have any tools to deal with anything like that. It didn't make any sense. What am I going to do with this information that's coming through right now? It made no sense to me. I had no way of knowing how to handle it. And gosh, when you think about that, that means our parents didn't have any way of knowing how to handle that. Because we got a lot of our template from the people that were raising us, from the people that we were around all the time, whether it was a teacher. And it's not because, oh, well, they didn't teach me how to be in joy. They didn't show me any of that. That's a victim saying that. It's like, wow, that person couldn't be in that space either, because they didn't have it in their box. They didn't have it in their design when they came into this. Well, we had it when we came into this world, but we were trained away from a lot of it by those that were around us, from their experiences. Because why? We're empathic people, and we're picking up on everything around us in our environment. Because in a lot of ways, that's how we learn how to survive in this human experience, until we realize we don't have to survive. We came here to be here. We came here to thrive. We came here to manifest, to be master creators. We came here to do so much more than sit and think, man, I don't want to get up tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and complaining about it. It's like, I was just talking to someone. When I wake up in the morning, I because there's other things that I'm wanting to do. I'm like, I'm excited about that. Like I can just see me like, oh, gotta go. Hey, Bev, are you planning on coming home anytime soon? Oh, good Lord, I didn't know the time got away from me. When are you leaving work? Work? I don't work. I just show up and have experiences all day long. That's not work. That's the environment that I want to be in. And I already feel like I'm going to that environment. But if I, from myself right now, had gone and talked to myself as a teenager, I don't even know what my teenager was kind of an ass. So I'm not sure. Teenager had such a barricade and walls up around herself that she wouldn't have allowed that information to come in. And she would have probably thought, well, if that's going to be me later on, I'm having no part of that because that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, because we just didn't have it in our box. That's all.
Right. And that makes me think, when they say, if you could go back and tell your whatever 16-year-old self something, what would you say? And what you just said was like, would my 16-year-old self be able to hear me?
Depends on how I would have came at her.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because from where I'm at now, I would know that if I come in and pushing something against you and telling you that you need to do this, it's no, there's no way I would have gone on my horse and took off out to the Wild West with my pistols blazing.
Right.
And now it's like but from the place that we are right now, we would have known how to go talk to that person because we would have seen them from a higher source, from a higher space than we would have been able to. And we would have found the one thing, the one word that would have busted through that shell and changed everything.
Right. Right.
It's crazy.
Wow. So we gave a lot of information today on how to be with your groups of people or around people. So, we might want to listen to this a couple times to implement some of the tools that we shared. Be in gratitude though, good, bad, or indifferent. Those people that you're around, you have something to learn about yourself because of them. Not in spite of, not because they did something to you. It's because you're on this, because if you're listening to us, you are on a path of growth and expansion. You're wanting to shift the negative energy, the lower vibrational energy, the heavy emotion, whatever terms you want to use that you're harboring within yourself that is contributing to the way you're showing up in your life, and you're ready to shift that because you want to feel better, and you've been listening to us, you got to implement at least one. I mean, we gave several tips during this video. At least one, implement it, whether it's the deep breathing, the grounding, the connecting to spirit, the seeing through the eyes of compassion. But be grateful for each and every person you encounter. They're a spirit and body as well, and they matter. Doesn't matter what your history is with them, doesn't matter how angry you are with them, doesn't matter how much in love you are with them. They matter because they're a spirit and body on this planet at such a time as this. And a lot of the people that are causing us to feel uncomfortable are our greatest teachers to help us grow and expand, to help us be more in that space of forgiveness. And for me, from my perspective, from forgiveness, there's compassion. You have more compassion. And when you're in that space of having compassion for every person you encounter, it's just all love. It's all just a loving space, and you're sharing that love and you're spreading the energy of love. And that affects thousands upon thousands of people every moment. And my encouragement is during this time of Thanksgiving is be thankful for all people, even the ones you have a hard time with.
Because we are all one.
Yeah. 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 There you have it. You got any final words, Bev?
I would say, just a reminder, when, especially around this time, when someone does something or you want to thank them, catch yourself instead of being in the routine of just saying thank you, but really putting your hand on your heart and really thinking to yourself and seeing that person's face. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for just being here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Of course, thank you to the audience, for the followers, the people who have been hanging out with us, that you're the reason why we're here. This is why we do it. I mean, we do it for our own therapy for sure, and checking in with each other every single week. But you know what? This is a free service, a free giving that we do every single week. And our goal is just to help someone. To help someone. Somebody's going to hear something that's going to help them make that shift in their own life. And that's why we do this. So thank you for the audience and listeners. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And you know somebody else who may need to hear these messages or may be in a space, not necessarily need. We don't tell people they need something, but maybe in a space now where they are ready to do something different and they just need some words of wisdom, of knowledge, of information to help them make that shift. So be sure to share us with those you know. Spread the word.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, my friends. Thanksgiving days when this video will be released. Happy Thanksgiving. We wish you a ton of blessings, and not just on Thanksgiving, but always. And cherish those around you wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving.
See y'all next time.
Bye.